I drive my car up to the lake as if there's someone to awake. I haven't been to bed for days, I live in a twilight haze. And I set my heart to the setting sun, and I hope that no one else has done it. And the drinks are never far, open up the bar. I miss you every single day. I wait until it's not your way. I hate the way I'm strayed into these perfect days.
So we're all recording and stuff. So yeah, let's just talk about our news. So I've let Milton in on the secret. So we're going. Tony's going to be running a night course from Pilgrim, and how many times a week? Just once a week, or
initially we'll start out at once a week,
yeah.
And as interest grows, we'll just run more often throughout the week.
Yep. Oh well, that's going to be good, and it's obviously Pilgrim's not a massive space. You're going to have a maximum of 5 people.
Yep, that's right.
And what are you going to focus on teaching in these courses?
Well, I might even go back a step further. This space is really good for what we want to achieve out of our night classes.
Yeah.
It's intentional to find a small space like this. First of all, the cafe is a little bit different to what most people are used to for a classroom.
Yeah.
So it's that different atmosphere.
Do you think that will help people be more relaxed?
Yeah, I do. Yeah, 100%. And also, we always focus on everything we do on small groups anyway, and we feel that 5 is a great number to maximise learning for the individuals that come along.
Yeah.
So it's a great space, and because it's a bit smaller than your typical classroom, it sort of develops that atmosphere where we sort of forces us to
interact kind of in each other's space to a certain degree.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's we probably find that with the customers as well. To be fair, it's probably easier to you can't they can't get away from us.
Yeah, that's right. The bigger the space, the more people spread out, right?
Yeah,
so.
yeah. Oh, nice one. So, and are you going to focus on mental toughness, or
it's basically
what kind of
what we found with our membership program. So we focus on the one topic, 1 day a month. So each month we have that 1 day workshop, and we focus on that one topic. And what we found is a lot of people want to attend, but because it's through work hours, work might not give them the time off that they need to come and attend the course.
Yeah.
So we decided to set up night class, and we put out to see if there was any interest, and we've got quite a lot of interest. So we're going to be focusing on things like mental toughness, decision-making under pressure, planning and coordination, building trust-based relationships. And the first one that we'll be running is about communicating intent. So at a strategic level or project level, how to clearly articulate and communicate intent in a clear and concise manner. Yeah. And also how to communicate a required action, so at boots on the ground level.
Yeah. That's cool. You can definitely see the crossovers between business and, like a military sort of scenario in that regard.
Yeah, that's right. Especially with communication. If the leaders don't communicate their intent clearly, then there's a couple of things that we could expect. One is that sometimes people might get confused if they don't have that thorough understanding of what they're going to do. Or if they don't have, especially with the why behind the purpose, you reduce that agility of thought for them to think on their feet as the situation unfolds in front of them.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, so being able to clearly articulate and then communicate intent and then that required action.
Yeah. And well, that's cool. So for our viewers, we're going to be running a night course. That can be found basically online, Halo, or I'll share this video obviously and perhaps provide a link through to it. That's going to be good. And then if you get more than 5 people, perhaps put on another course at night as well. Yeah,
so that's the plan. Once we get 5, we'll just run it once a week. After that, if there's any more than 5, we'll just run 2 a week and just build it from there.
Yeah. So what's the start time again? Like 5:30
till 8:30.
Yeah.
So 3 hours.
Oh yeah, that gives people plenty of time to come in and also kind of dig their teeth into the topic at hand.
Yeah, that's
Will there be any practical, or is it kind of note taking and?
There might be some sort of, I guess you'd call it classroom based scenarios or activities, but the methodology for the night classes is going to be the theory, reflection, and then post-activity learning. So it's where you do a case study on it where you did or did not apply the tools that you learn in the night class at work. And then the following month you come back and you talk to everybody and you share your experience, the case study where you either did or did not apply that tool at work and what was the result of that.
Yeah. Are these kind of like, how much of your like military, were you in the classroom quite a bit when you're training?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
I don't think I really thought about that at all. I mean, just a little bit maybe.
Constant state of training. Yeah. It's like 95% training and 10% on the job, no, 5% on the job.
Wow. Yeah. Do you kind of miss that, like, to a certain degree? Because is it constantly new information or is it rehashing over old stuff? Or
it's a combination of both.
I suppose you're getting promoted and you're moving up and learning greater responsibility.
Yeah. So regardless of who you are in the military, you're trained. They give you training on 2 levels above your responsibility. So even as a private, you're learning to be a section commander.
Yep.
And we're always practicing or trying to master the basics, and that's one of the keys to dealing with adversity is really mastering the basics. So we do a lot of that. It's a lot of theory, a lot of practical application, and a lot of feedback as well. And then with the new stuff, we're constantly learning new things.
That's kind of cool. I mean, it could just be my misperception, but I mean, I just never really... I think it's a greater... the general population probably don't understand all of that goes on. Like, it sounds like they've got a real tight,
Yeah, I mean, what we learned was the training had to be continuous to get that upward trending growth.
Yeah.
That one and done approach, or once a year, is got your peak at the end of the course, and then with 2 to 3 weeks later, you'll be back to where you were.
Far out. I can definitely see the crossover. I was, just listening on the radio about, I don't know, different industries complaining about having a shortage of skilled workers in New Zealand at the moment due to the inability to travel and for people to come in. And I can't remember whether it was the dairy industry or the agricultural industry or something like that. And they were talking about blocks of people coming in from overseas and kind of... it was obviously kind of really useful, but in some respects it stopped a lot of that bottom-up kind of progression because they would just get a whole group of people at a certain skill level and it would almost provide a block for people underneath them to move through at certain times. So they were, they're beginning to look at it in a different light.
Yeah. It was interesting transitioning out of defence in that sense because we're training 2 levels above at whatever our responsibility is, 2 levels above. And then when you come in into the civilian workforce, a lot of the time what I found, you're almost seen as a threat, wanting to learn the positions above you.
Yeah.
So it was pretty interesting. But the thing is, when people have a better understanding of 1 or 2 levels above their own responsibility, their ability to take... I guess you call it disciplined initiative, expands so much. But instead, because people are a threat, it's kind of just blocks that off. So it's not empowering people to problem solve on the ground and understand the bigger picture. It's just kind of, hey, this is my job, that's your job. Yeah.
True, yeah. Ah, that's cool. I love that idea. Because then it gives the person, not only permission, but maybe there's an expectation for them to go above and beyond their role.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah, where often it's more, stay in your box or...
It's with disciplined initiative, and that's the key there as well. It's within your given authority. Yeah. So whatever the authority given to you to make decisions and to take action without additional guidance or direction from above. Yeah. So that governed by policy and again the authority that you're given. Yeah. So that's the left and right of R for your initiative. So there's boundaries. But, But because you have that understanding of what the next person in the ladder above you and the person above them are after, you can see the bigger picture and it makes it easier to be more proactive on the ground.
Yeah. Yeah, and you're perhaps not going to blame them for, things. You might sort of have a wee bit more empathy for them. And
that's a good point. Actually, when you see the responsibility those one or two levels higher, and you can better appreciate, hey, before I start questioning or talking at lunchtime about old mate's performance here, it's just like there's a lot of pressure under that role.
Yeah, well, I think there can be sometimes I've heard studies sort of suggest that the further you go up in business, sometimes there's a perception that there's more responsibility and more stress, but the opposite's sometimes true.
Maybe different, hey?
Yeah, maybe different. And in some cases, it can be almost an opportunity for them to avoid. In some workplaces that perhaps don't function very well, they're almost using it as a way to avoid responsibility and avoid work. I don't know, maybe that doesn't go on these days.
Probably a universal human nature job on that one.
Yeah.
I noticed, Tony, how you have your phrases, like you use the phrase disciplined initiative. So you just make things concise. You can articulate crystal clear exactly what's going on. Where in a lot of situations, what's going on is hard to pin down. It's all a bit fluffy. So
you see a common thing within the leadership side of the house is when leaders don't know how to clearly articulate and then communicate to other people. It might be clear to them because it's their plan, so they think, oh, this is really easy, just go out and do this. But when you're on the receiving end, it's not necessarily that clear, and you can have a lot of problems there. Well, why didn't you say? Why didn't you guys do what you were told to do?
It's like, I'm baffled. Why didn't you guys do it?
How hard is it? Just I said do this, do that, but it's not necessarily when you're on the receiving side. So that's a part of this communicating the intent. It's not just the message that you're delivering, it's making sure that people know how to receive that information as well. And that's why when you structure communication, so people know exactly how they're going to receive that information, they're more likely to retain it and better understand it.
That's interesting. I've just thought of a scenario that happened to me a couple of days ago with someone, and they came across as really assertive, and it was kind of a turn-off, and it, I think perhaps they had a lack of, perhaps they had a certain amount of skill in communicating something, but it was really dominating and kind of intimidating, and it just didn't, I didn't receive it well, perhaps. Maybe that's my problem. But, I felt that there was perhaps, they were overcompensating for maybe a lack of just simple communication skills. Gee, you have to sit here and listen to Milton and I waffle away.
It's good.
String, things out.
Sometimes it's confidence as well is the issue. Where they're not very confident, and they believe that if they stand up and be really firm and assertive, it makes people think.
It's quite obvious what that person was trying to do.
Yeah, that's right.
But you got to feel for them as well, because they're like real hard out trying, and it's like they haven't got an effective tool.
And that's why when we do these programs, we focus on just one topic. Because, unfortunately, leadership, it's changed a little bit in the last 2 years, but it seems to be viewed like a nice to have, not a need to have. That it's not a priority right now. It's interesting, isn't it? Because it's the leaders that communicate what needs to be done to people, to their team, so it can go out and get done. But that's not a priority. It's a nice to have, not a need to have.
And the result, like the ability to succeed.
Who's telling that story, Tony? That leadership's not an essential.
We hear that all the time. All the time, people are saying, look, that's really interesting, that's great. Just right now, that's not our priority. That's not where we're focusing our time. It's nice to have that sort of stuff, but right now we need to focus on something else.
Is that because, so there's been businesses, say for example, like a business that's selling something and they've got like a sales team, have they just developed their own kind of culture and their own ways to most effectively sell something, and they're probably telling their salespeople, don't show any weakness, like you've got to have an answer for every question, you've got to blah, 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 blah. And they've kind of developed this thing which they think is the most ultimate formula.
Yeah, I mean, there's a couple of ways of looking at that. One, we see it quite often as well as people in positions of leadership feel that, I'm speaking generally here, but they feel that they don't they shouldn't show vulnerability. You've got to be careful. It's got to be balanced. Too much is not a good thing.
Yeah, of course.
Yeah. But none is not a good thing.
No.
And they also...
that's right. I think that's what I got from this person. Like, there was none. It was just like... Yeah. You know, I could kind of smell a fish, so to speak. I was like, something's not right here.
Yeah, that's right.
We were talking about that before. It feels brittle, right? Energy. It's like it's not malleable enough.
It's kind of staged or theatrical anyway.
And you look at it like this. If leadership, like a lot of leaders, when they come to the program, the first thing we ask is, on our membership program, is can you clearly define leadership? And we'll ask one at a time to stand up and define leadership. And what we've found is the majority of people do not have a clear definition of what leadership is. So if they don't know what it is, how do they know what
embody
they're doing?
The role?
That's right. And we've adopted the US military definition of leadership, which is a process of influencing others by providing purpose, direction, and motivation while working towards accomplishing the mission and improving the organisation. And the key words there, I think, is the process of influencing others or influencing people. Yeah. And when you talk about that person coming in and being very assertive...
Ultimately, that's your goal. Yeah.
So what sort of influence... You know, it's certainly not positive influence. No. It actually does the opposite to what she's hoping to achieve. Yeah. Because that is, in a nutshell, what being a leader is, the process of influencing people.
Wow, it's classic. It's like that old book, How to Win Friends and Influence People.
Yeah, and look,
not that I've ever read it, but...
And look how popular that is. Decades later, it's still like required reading.
It's just got a killer title.
Yeah.
It's like, man, I've got to read that one.
Yeah, but I haven't. I should.
But
maybe.
Like, I'm not a leader. I don't need to be a leader at this stage, but...
I'll challenge that shortly.
Oh, okay, great. See, it's good to be vulnerable and just sort of, say what I'm thinking. But I am into self-leadership, and it's influencing myself and just watching myself and seeing where I can grow a little bit.
That's exactly right. And that's what I was about to say anyway. You are a leader because we're all self-leaders, and people say this is all airy-fairy, and that's not exactly true because, you know, you've been on the job a year, I've been in the job for 20 years. That's not what leadership's about. It's not technical skills or time in the organisation. What it is, as a self-leader, everything we do and everything we say impacts others around us. And that impact can either be negative or positive. So, because everything that you do, that could influence positive action within the team, and it could be your first day on the job. So everybody is a leader in that sense. If it's providing influence, and it's either positive or negative, the impact of the things you say and the things you do.
Yeah, and that can directly translate. You can have workplaces with a toxic workplace kind of culture and stuff, and that can kind of just come from a very minor detail with a manager or something like. Well, perhaps not a minor detail, but just a sort of an attitude or some kind of small thing that's left unchecked because of their position, which will sort of pervade the whole business.
Well, it's accountability from leaders, isn't it?
Yes,
The further they go up, the less accountable they believe or feel they should be within the organisation. So they project that stuff out on everybody else.
Yeah, never flows the other way.
It's a classic where you'll get a senior leader within a big organisation and they'll say, we've got a lot of problems with our culture. People aren't doing, what's expected. They're not behaving well, so forth.
Yeah.
And it's like, we want to send these people to you. And it's like, one of the questions we like to ask is, so when was the last time you attended any personal development?
Cool. Because, pick up the mirror and hold it up.
Yeah, that's right. And
let's deal with you first.
Yeah, that's right. And sometimes we get those responses. This is one of the classic ones. I don't do training. I make sure other people get the training they need.
Wow.
Yeah.
Cool.
We've heard that for some pretty big organisations. It's not my job to get trained. It's my job to facilitate the training of others.
That is a mind blower, that one.
Yeah.
Holy crap.
And that's when those are the people that need to be on the program. And that's, like when I attended the Defence Intelligence Training Centre, they had a component that they talked about. They described it as the mirror.
Yeah.
And they said, we're going to hold a mirror up in front of you.
Oh,
And for a lot of you, you're going to see yourself
Yeah.
for the very first time in your truest form,
Mm-hmm.
and you're probably not going to like what you see.
Yeah.
But for me, that's exactly what happened. And it was just a real eye-opener. It's like, you know what, I can see exactly what I need to change here to be better. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. That's a good thing.
That's awful, man. It sounds... you're made to face yourself like that.
Yeah, that's right.
But you're like that anyway, right? So...
In what way?
Like a person is... like I've got weaknesses, or Dave's got weaknesses that we don't know about, but other people couldn't see.
Yeah, that's right. And we look at other people and judge them all the time.
Yeah.
But when the eyes are on us, it's a different
Yeah.
story. Usually people get defensive.
I think so. I think we perceive ourselves differently to how other people perceive us.
Yeah.
And that's just a matter of perspective.
Yeah.
And it's a great example, the mirror. I mean, and we can play so many different tricks on ourselves. I mean, man, our culture is saturated with kind of trash at the moment, like in regards to social media and selfies and stuff like that. I mean, you see the I mean, people take selfies of themselves, and I mean, they take it in the best light possible, and they manipulate and move their faces and take it at a certain angle, and it's all designed to kind of portray themselves. And I know a lot about it, Milton.
We're on social media now.
Yeah, I know. Yep. And
a lot of people at all levels of leadership that go through our programs, so there's one common thread when we discuss leadership, and it's the fear of being judged by others.
Oh, yeah.
And it's really interesting, isn't it? Like, people are so afraid of what other people will think.
Yeah.
And we go into a lot of discussion about, where's a lot of that noise coming from? Usually it's coming from people who are not even in the position of responsibility that you hold. Mm-hmm. And it's at that lunchtime gossip and on Facebook and social media and so forth.
Yeah, I've got a friend who's in exactly that position. She's too scared to move up and become the manager in an organisation. And I know it's because she's terrified of what other people think.
You know, when I was in Iraq, my leader held the mirror to me, and it was really salty. I remember we come back from a task and we were working with other teams, alongside other teams, and he was just a solid professional, this guy. And I remember when we got back to the barracks, or the base, I was just talking to him off-side, not in front of others, but I was basically bagging out another team leader from another team, and I was just a team member.
Yeah.
And he just sat there listening to me, and I was going off on my little rant, and then I looked at him and realised that the face that I was looking at was not appreciating what I was saying. And he just looked at me and he said, it's really interesting that here you are, your boots on the ground, you've got no position of additional responsibility, and you're judging and criticising another team leader when you yourself are not prepared to sit in the hot seat and make the decisions that person has to make under the pressure, under those conditions. And I really didn't like it. But I went back and had a bit of a think about it and just said to him, hey, 100%, you're right. And it was only probably 6 or 8 weeks later, I don't recall exactly, he said, hey, my time's done. I'm going back home. He was from the UK. He said, we need a new someone else to fill my position, and I've nominated you. So it came really quite real very quickly. It's like, you know what? Yeah, it just showed a complete lack of professional maturity, didn't it? For me to sit there and criticise someone when I wasn't even in that position myself. Yeah. It's easy to judge other people.
Yeah. But we live in a culture where it is accepted and it's well, I don't know whether it's encouraged, but it just becomes, like you were saying before, that you're like your closest 5 people. Well, that it's just kind of contagious, whatever it is, whether it's a phrase of saying "sweet as mate." Yeah. Before you know it, Milton's saying "sweet as mate." We're all saying "sweet as mate."
Yeah. Right.
And so
it can be negative or positive, right? How we all come together. We can feed off the negativity, or we can feed off the positivity, and everybody's responsible for what that culture is. Yeah. Everybody's responsible from the first day on the job to the director or the CEO, the general manager.
The friend I was talking about, who was frightened of moving up to become a manager because she's like, terrified of what other people think. And a lot of that stuff, the people she's frightened of, there's like petty jealousies and all this sort of stuff. But what was your point, Dave? It just slipped my mind. What did you just say?
Just then? I have no idea. I'm like a goldfish, Milton.
It's just the fear of it's just the fear of being judged.
100%. No, that was it. But they've also got a gossip culture.
Yeah.
Oh, right. The contagious
it's all
nature.
Women. And they just, we know what it's like.
Yeah.
Well, you just love getting into nitty-gritty, that negativity and finger pointing. And, man, it's so toxic. It's just awful. It's
that
rubbish.
stuff's got to be hammered out really quickly.
And they don't know that. Yeah. And they sort of feel quite low status at their work. They haven't got that 2 levels up where they can grow into. Yeah. So it's a lot of resentment and, it's all that toxic stuff.
And you wonder about the leadership as well. And
the leadership is crap.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then the other thing that we see that's quite common is company values. That they're all over the website. They're on email footers.
Yeah. Yep.
And then you ask people, senior leaders of big organisations, can you tell me what your company values are? I think it's integrity.
You can easily just
they don't know.
Right? Transparency, honesty, integrity.
They're just trying to rattle something off, but you can see they clearly don't know. And if they don't know those values, if they're not living those values and being held accountable in accordance to those values every day, then what would you expect in terms of culture? Something that we did in the army every single day was we were held accountable to the values. Hey, I noticed you did this today. Can you tell me how that aligns with the values? What are the values? Boom, boom, boom. Okay, so how does that align with the values? And that's when you go, okay, maybe that didn't. But unless people get that it's brought to their attention every other day of the week, people just fob off the values as they're just not important. That's just something that looks good on our website.
I think so many people just want to turn up to work, do their job and go home. They want to, I don't want to have to think about values that I need to, it's like flipping exercise.
Yeah, well, you look at it, you've got to do the work, right? If you don't, what can you expect? That culture? That negative culture and everybody's gossiping and just...
But if that culture of gossip, if they could experience the culture where they're not gossiping and have a few solid values, and they woke up in the morning and just felt a bit of integrity in their guts and stuff, they'll go, man, I'd never go back there.
Yeah, I mean, values guide our behaviour and our actions. That's exactly what they're there to do. So that provides that left and right. Left and right of arc. It's just like that disciplined initiative. It provides boundaries, and if those values aren't clearly articulated and then enforced, and when I say enforce, that's strong language, what I mean by that is that people are held accountable to them. To the very values that the companies stand by.
Have you watched the podcast with Joe Rogan? And
he's in a lot of podcasts right now.
And Jordan Peterson. And I don't know, he did the thing where Jordan Peterson said, right, they would talk, I don't even know what they're talking about, freedom. And he said, right, let's play a game. And he goes, your turn. And Joe's just sitting there. And he's like, well, what do you mean? And he's going, come on, we're going to play a game. It's your turn. And he said, you don't know what to do. It's not helpful. But if you put a chessboard in front of someone, and you said your turn, you would know what to do. And there's sort of clearly defined rules. And you operate within those rules, and it gives you, a lot of enjoyment, and you get all sorts of, you get the experience, right? But without those boundaries, you can miss all of that, and you can't just bring a basketball into the game, or a game of chess, So, it's that kind of thing.
And that's the other thing with accountability. Again, it filters, when it does happen, it tends to filter down the organisation, but again, it's the upper level leaders that seem to be less accountable. And what we did overseas was we had this informal gathering, you'd call it. It was by no means formal or structured, but we just talk about the issues that we faced every day, and it was peer-to-peer. So we were all equivalent positions of responsibility, and we just challenge and question each other, and we challenge and defend our thoughts and our beliefs on certain things as well, which is something that you don't see a lot of, unfortunately, is where that safe place where you can challenge and defend your own thoughts and beliefs in that safe environment, because that's where you can find your innovation comes from. You can develop standards better because people are going, I didn't realise that. I didn't see it from that perspective until now. So it's really important to break down those echo silos and encourage that back and forwards among your peers.
Yeah, one of my best mates, I can do the same thing. Just talk about anything.
Yeah,
like I can have a crap. Talk about all my crap, like if I'm feeling down or depressed or whatever. But I can also talk about awesome stuff.
Yeah,
he'll listen, give me feedback.
Yeah,
same sort of deal. And man, it's such a good relationship to have with somebody, like crucial.
Yeah, I mean, that's a great way to build a trust-based relationship where you can say how you're feeling or what you're thinking, and it doesn't matter if they agree or not. They're going to challenge it, and it's going to force you to think, hey, have I got all the facts here, or is this possibly me at fault here?
Yeah.
And it's when you don't do that, that's
Yeah.
when those leaders segregate themselves from that you start to have problems.
I think that's a good point as well. It doesn't matter if you agree or disagree, because there's an idea that if someone disagrees, that's the end of it, and there's no discussion and blah, 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 and you're different, and then you should go find people that do agree.
Yeah.
But I think, just, good old-fashioned discussion, and that seems to have, maybe we've got a bit soft in that regards, the idea that... everyone that you talk to has to agree with you, and it's this sort of,
Purest the thought, mate.
Yeah, true. I mean, it would be pretty miserable.
It's really disappointing that your friend is afraid to get promoted because
it is
of what
disappointing.
people think.
And I've been trying to go, look, this is what you're frightened of.
I guess it's the way you frame it, isn't it?
Well,
I'm probably not that good at framing it and putting it across to her, but I'm just saying I can see it, I know what it is.
In some respects, it's kind of justified, because if you're in an environment and it is so saturated with one thing, and you're kind of moving out, I mean, they're probably quite accurate as to what's going to happen. Is it fair to expect that person is going to be able to totally have change, or what can you do? Maybe the answer is to sort of switch businesses, or find a culture where it is a complete change, where you are kind of allowed more freedom.
I think she can change enough to move up in that role in that same organisation.
Yeah.
It'd be a real challenge, but once she's done it, she'll be like, wow, I'm so glad I did that. I'm sure.
And I suppose there's a certain kind of aspect. I try to look at things, and I'm not saying that I'm good at it, but sometimes I try and look at things just as games, and it's sort of like, well, what's the game that is being played here, and how can I play it better, and how will me playing it better help the overall kind of game? Yeah.
I guess my question, Milton, is what's her purpose? It sounds to me, just from what you've said, that she's interested in promotion. She's just afraid of being judged. So I wonder what's the reason she wants to be promoted? What is it that she wants to achieve?
That goes back around with what you're talking about before, about having a value set.
Yeah.
Because once you've got that value set, you go, this is what I want to achieve. Yeah. I'm not good at it yet, but I know I can be. Yeah. And so that value set's then driving her purpose, right?
Yeah. I mean, it depends really why she wants to move up, and you've got to be very careful as well, because some people want to move into a position of responsibility for change, to make positive change in the organisation, and that's really good. It's just you've got to be careful on how that's received, and you've got to have the support from above.
I know people are complex, but I doubt some of the leadership in the organisation. I think it's a bit about status.
Yeah.
And it's detrimental to the effectiveness of the organisation for sure. Yeah. And they've got stated goals, and it's more like platitudes, and the real world action isn't really aligning with it. And part of the problem is they're probably there for the wrong reason.
Yeah, yeah. I always look for why people are in positions of responsibility. Is it a status thing that's driven by their ego? Or is it because they're there for all the right reasons, that they believe in what the business does and they believe in the positive change they can make?
Yeah. So you're coming across more businesses than we are, but so you're coming across businesses that are functioning well and pretty healthy?
Yep.
Or, and they're kind of engaging in
Yeah, we're seeing both sides of the fence there. We're seeing some organisations are really surprising about how innovative they are, how they're really prioritising culture.
Yeah.
And then you see others that don't prioritise culture and ongoing professional development.
Yeah.
And they just, this is the way we do things, this is the way we've always done it.
Yeah.
It's going to keep on doing it that way.
Yeah.
And when they don't prioritise it, you see it all the time, like people saying, yeah, we've got some internal issues with the culture. Right now we've got to sort out a whole lot of other things, and in a couple of years we'll get to that.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, and it's just like... Yeah.
Avoidance.
Yeah, that's right. I'd probably want to work on leadership. If there's a culture issue, then it's a leadership issue, straight up.
Yeah.
And that would be a priority, because if it's terrible culture, you've got to look at retention issues and morale and performance and... Yeah, so it should be really treated as a priority. So we see both sides. We see some that really just don't see it as a priority, that there's other things more important than their people. And then we see other organisations that are really excelling in trying to produce good leaders.
Yeah.
And there's one company that comes to mind. They've talked to me about saying, their particular industry needs a lot of work.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, and they're saying they can't control the industry, but they can control their part in the industry. So they're really focusing on slowly trying to change the industry, starting from themselves and filtering out.
So they're not using it as an excuse not to change.
No, that's right. They're using it as a fuel to change.
Yep.
And then what they're doing with that is that it was pretty inspiring, actually, because they're saying we're going to put as many people as we can possibly get through our program, not just ours, through their training programs.
Yeah.
So if people leave, that's fine. The way we see it is if we've made them better people and they go elsewhere, then we're contributing to improving the industry as a whole. Yeah. And I think that's pretty unique, because a lot of people look at it like, if I'm not sure that you're going to stay with us, why would I invest in your development?
Yeah.
But this particular company's looking a step higher. It's like, well, the industry's got problems, and the way we see it, if you stay, that's great. If you don't, that's also great, because you're going to improve the organisation. The industry.
It's like an Alka-Seltzer for the whole industry.
Yeah.
All bubbling up and...
Yeah, that's right. Yeah. So, we've seen some really inspiring steps by companies that sort of think a little bit outside the box. For me, I've not seen many organisations that are thinking about their industry. They're more thinking about just, their own business, and why would I invest in someone that I'm not certain is going to hang around?
Yeah.
Like, when you express that story, it just makes so much sense as to why that absolutely works.
Yeah, and on a personal level, we can all understand. If you live your life in that regard, there's a saying, I can't even remember what it is, I'm going to totally butcher it, about barking at the world and it barks back or something.
Yeah, I've not heard it.
But it's just this idea that, if you chuck out something, it's kind of going to come back at you. On a personal level, that's definitely true. But if you're constantly putting out good stuff... Yeah.
It was kind of like what I did in Iraq, right? I was complaining about somebody else, but not prepared to step up myself. And but it's really cool to see that people are thinking outside of their own organisation. And when they think about, some of those companies are saying things like, well, why would I invest in someone I don't think is going to hang around? Well, if you did invest, maybe they would hang around. Yeah. Maybe they won't leave in the first place.
Simple as that.
100%. Yeah. Self-fulfilling, mate.
Yeah, give them opportunities. Give them, the opportunity to grow and learn more and find their own direction within your organisation, rather than saying, well, I'm not 100% sure, so I'm not going to do anything with you, and we'll see if you stick around. Cool, for what?
Yeah.
Because it's more than just a paycheck for so many people now. It's not just about money. You want to feel that sense of purpose, that sense of belonging. You want to feel valued wherever you go. So if you don't treat people like they're valued, then how can you expect them to stay around? And how can you expect the industry to change? If you're not happy with it, then what are you doing to make those changes?
Well, so many of us have been conditioned in our careers and in our work life to not expect that. Yeah. To just come here, do the job, leave kind of thing. And, those other things are for your own family life or whatever. Yeah. Yeah, they have no place in business. We don't want to... Yeah, obviously they've taken them on as the platitudes or whatever, but not sort of deeply or meaningfully.
Yeah. We've also seen... Oh, sorry.
No, you go, mate.
We've also seen leaders from different large organisations that have been given additional responsibility, no training prior to getting into that position of additional responsibility.
Oh, right.
And then no training once they're in there. And what we've found is these leaders are coming on their own, out of their own pocket, asking for us to help, with leadership. Because they're not getting it from the company before they get promoted or after they've been promoted. They're saying, I need help, I'm struggling with this.
Yeah.
And it's like, oh, you'll get it. Just talk to Joe or Jane beside you.
Yeah.
You'll be right. You'll come good in a few months. And they're struggling, and it's putting them under a lot of pressure.
Yeah.
Unnecessarily.
And sooner or later, that's going to crack, and they're going to be judged. And potentially, one of the things that they might just be sort of considered to be incompetent or something.
Yep.
Oh, you don't know. Yeah, you're just incompetent. You can't do your job. Yep. And they might be like, well, how can I do my job if I haven't been told?
Yeah, or supported through that process. Yep. Yeah.
But if someone's told they're incompetent, you can't do the job, and they take that on, it becomes part of their main structural personality.
True.
Their life's just, part of their life going down the toilet sort of thing. But it's a real shame because that person might have a lot of really good qualities, but it's being held back by that one thing they're having trouble with.
Yeah.
And then they're defined as incompetent by them having trouble with that one thing.
Or they've been looked upon from their leadership, saying, hey, this person's got potential, this person's good to go, I think we should promote him or her to do this role. And then they don't get that, they really should have the training before they step up. In some cases that's not possible. They should at least get that ongoing development after they step up. But when they don't, if you ask somebody to step up into that position, they say, hey, I need a bit of help here. And you say, oh, yeah, look, sorry, we can't help you with that. Okay, well, if I pay for it myself, will you reimburse? Oh, no, you're on your own there. Are you setting the conditions for success or failure for that person? Obviously, they had to step up. You trusted them enough to step up because they've got potential, and you trusted them to step up, but now you're saying, oh, thanks. Now that you're there, we're not going to help you. You're saying this is all about us and not anything about you. Yeah, this is not about you. This is all about us.
What the transaction is one way. It's one way street. Yep.
So what can you expect? Well, they're going to be under a lot of pressure. They start off straight away with stress fractures. Then the pressure applies. Then they start to crack and crumble. And they're either going to fail because the conditions were set in the first place, or they're going to leave the organisation. Then you've got a whole new problem. Now you've got to find somebody else to step up.
But some organisations will just churn through people. They'll grab someone, they'll burn through them. It's kind of like a candle, boom, and then replace it with another one.
Yeah, we get 150 applications a day. You're just another person. If somebody's not up to our standard or not the way we want them to be, then we'll just replace them.
Yeah, so the promotion is coming out of sometimes just necessity, not because that person is shown to be good or whatever. It's just the person above them's burnt out, and you're now in that position. And
what sort of influence are they providing to other people if they're burnt out, under pressure, really struggling to keep up? Are they going to project positivity out or negativity? And what happens? That stuff rolls down and it snowballs.
Yeah, and I think we maintain this. We maintain it as well. Well, I'm imagining we do. Like, one person steps into a role, they work at it hard for 5 years, they burn out. And as they're leaving, they're probably like, I don't know whether they're at rock bottom or not, but they might turn around and say, they might put a whole different spin on it just to make themselves feel good and say, well, it was a really great opportunity and blah, 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 blah. And then the next person coming up into that role perhaps isn't aware of the truth.
Yeah, that's right.
Actually, you got worn away by, constantly banging your head against a brick wall, not getting anywhere. And there's this, I can sort of feel that person's in a pressure to not, like, kind of to bow out gracefully and not point the finger, which is cool. That's a great, attitude or whatever. But if it's not the truth, I mean, if the person is actually leaving because things have gone badly, but it could just perpetuate that myth.
Well, you see, there's a couple that come to mind in some of the bigger organisations where they have bought into being a part of the organisation. Like, well, this is a great opportunity to step up and be a part of this organisation. And then when it gets to this point, they no longer believe that organisation is what they thought it was, or what they're communicating to everybody else. They're saying what they're communicating and what they really like are two completely different things.
Yeah.
And it's always like the common complaints are that they're getting told, "Oh, sorry, we can't give you any support here in professional development because we haven't got time. It's not our priority right now. It's not within our budget." And it's interesting, especially when you hear it's not within our budget. Because if you have to replace a leader, then you've got to find somebody else to step up, and then there's a gap below that, and you've just got to constantly find people. And then there's also getting them up to speed where they can be left to do their role. That could take up to 6 months or more in a lot of companies. So is it really not in your budget? You've got somebody there who's the majority of the way through the journey. They just need a little additional support. And not only will they stay, but they'll do their job better, they'll feel better, and they'll project out that positive influence down to their teams. But it's not in our budget.
Far out. So you reckon? So that's pretty cool. So there's an element of kind of judging yourself, and being honest with yourself, like holding up that mirror. And it's
never
easy.
Pleasant.
No, I suppose not. But in some respects, do you reckon it's easier to judge yourself than be judged by others? Like it's better to like deal with issues before you're in a position and someone else is having to point it out.
Yeah, well, it is easy to judge ourselves, and we see, especially in the mental toughness workshop. It's like,
well, you don't want to, because I suppose there's two sides to judging. You could be too harsh on yourself. You could look in the mirror and you could see too many things that you perceive to be bad, or you could perhaps look in the mirror and go, far out, I look amazing, or whatever. So you can swing two different ways.
That's right. They can either overestimate their ability or underestimate their ability.
Shut up, Milton.
So you see that all the time. You see people who really overestimate their ability, and then, on our mentorship program, when we do the practical application phase following the theory, in the theory section, when we have a few discussions within that component, they're quite confident, and they'll rate themselves. We get them to rate themselves, and then when it comes to the practical application, all of a sudden they realise, okay, I saw myself performing differently to how I actually performed. Especially when we do the debrief as a part of a group, and everybody hears how everybody else performed for the very same task with the very same information. And the information that people hear, you can see that, again, they might feel composed, or they might look composed, but the pressure, their mind starts to go into overdrive, and they start to skip vital bits of information that are the difference between achieving the mission and not achieving the mission. But then you see on the other side of the house where you've got people who are really not feeling confident in their ability, but when they perform the task, they do it at such a high level, and it's like, you really need to look at yourself a little bit differently here. You've got everything you need. It's just you're your own brick wall here. You're stopping yourself from going any further, because what we saw was excellent.
So trying to achieve that balance is quite tricky for people. We're prone to sliding one way or the other.
Or it's given them the opportunity to get up and actually do the task, and then have that psychological safety within the group discussion at the end of it, saying, look, everybody here, the other 9 people saw you perform to a high level. You're the only person that believes you didn't perform to a high level.
You see that on Britain's Got Talent or whatever. People are like kind of whack jobs. They think they're these amazing singers, and they're rubbish. And you get people who are freaking awesome, and they're going, I wasn't that. I was when they're freaking amazing.
That's right. And all they need is just, on our membership program, when people get the opportunity to see that, there's one young lady that comes to mind straight off the top of my head. She was so nervous, she lacked so much confidence, and when she actually got up and did what she needed to do, she was so good at it, and all she really needed to hear was everybody else's feedback. You know what? You've been pretty hard on yourself. You did better than any of us. And as soon as they start to hear, hey, you know what? I'm not as bad at this as I thought I was. And then they start to feel positive about themselves, and then they start to reframe that particular activity differently, rather than, I can't do this. They feel like, hey, no worries. I want to do this.
And some organisations will say, hey, they're becoming a danger.
Yeah, it's like your friend Milton.
Exactly. Yeah.
It's like your friend. I wonder how. I'm sure she's probably good at her job.
Yeah,
and I wonder how many,
She's very good at her job.
I wonder how many people within that organisation actually tell her she does a good job.
Probably not very often.
Yep.
Like very sporadically, but it's not enough. It's more weighted on the negative.
Isn't it interesting how so much feedback, everybody's quick to fire off negative feedback, but if somebody does a good job or even just gets the job done to the standard, that doesn't, there's no reason to say, hey, great job, guys.
Yeah.
We got the job done, excellent work.
Yeah.
But if there's something negative, that's quick fire straight down the line, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think our eyes, when we look in the mirror, once again, our eyes can be drawn to the negative or whatever.
Yep.
Yeah. Milton?
Why is that? Why is that? Is it like an insecurity? Why aren't people quick to go, great job?
Yeah.
I really appreciate you. What's so hard about that?
Yeah, I know, right? The benefits...
It even makes me feel good just saying it. So
I know.
A bit of a splashback or whatever.
Yeah. I don't understand why people have such a difficult time to say positive things to people when everybody knows if you hear good things, you feel better. If you feel better, you're more likely to step up and keep moving forward, especially in tough times like now. But instead, all too often, it's so common for people just to focus on that negativity. Times are already tough. The last thing everybody needs is to get hammered about how terrible something is or how terrible they performed.
And it's always tough times.
Yeah, that's right. And given negative feedback, that people need to hear the truth. How that's delivered is, you've got to be careful on, it's got to be done the right way.
Yeah.
But if you're going to give somebody negative feedback, don't just hammer them. Tell them what they did well.
Yeah.
Also, not just, hey, you blew this, now we're behind the deadline, the company's got a fine for not hitting a particular KPI at a certain point. So, you're terrible, don't do that again. How about, look, this didn't go to plan, this is what we needed to happen, this is the result because it didn't go to plan. What I did notice was you guys did really well here, and just give them a bit of positivity as well. Don't just hammer people and then expect them to change, because if they feel terrible, they're less likely to engage in changing their performance or improving themselves.
Yeah.
And then there's like a bit of resentment building and all this unsaid stuff, and next time you're not so open, so that obviously that entire trust is eroded and everything's down the toilet again. Yeah,
leaders really should be reflecting on their own actions. If you're constantly pulling somebody up, saying negative, giving them negative feedback, put yourself in their shoes. How would it feel if your boss every day or every interaction was just giving you negative feedback? How much would you want to work for them? How much would you want to engage and improve the organisation?
Put yourself in their shoes.
Yeah, that's right. Empathy, everybody throws that word around. I feel it's well overused and used very loosely. It's one thing to talk about empathy. It's another thing to actually practice it on a daily basis.
Yeah. Good point.
Yeah.
That is massive, because I was thinking before, we're talking about platitudes.
Yeah.
Like the company stands for integrity and this and this, but then we'll forget about that and we'll go and do whatever we're doing. But obviously we all understand there's an intrinsic value in those platitudes.
Yeah.
But so many of us not really living out of them.
Yeah, walking the talk.
Yeah.
But we know there's a goodness,
problem, right?
a goodness,
I know.
a use in them. But
You'd be surprised on how many people actually apply to join organisations because of the values that they see advertised, basically, on their websites.
Yeah.
And then how many people are disappointed when they actually get there and it's just
there's
on
the
website.
front door and there's the back door of the business,
right.
and people come on the front and they're all like,
It's really polished out the front.
Yeah. And then there's a wee back door.
And it's interesting about the leadership as well. It's more than just a name tag on the door, being a leader. CEO, director, general manager. It's a lot more than that. And when people get promoted, it should not just be because of their technical skills. It should be based on their character as well, them as a person, and comparing their actions, if you're promoting internally, their behaviour with the company values, not just, hey, you're a technical genius, let's promote this person, they're excellent at this job, because when you go into a position of leadership, you're responsible for other people. And if you're a leader, then your role is the process of influencing people then you've got to be the right person to have that positive influence. Just because someone's great technical skills doesn't mean they're going to be a great leader. And you can see those people when you know what you're looking for. I mean, you start looking at people not for the name tag that's on the door, not for their technical skills, but how they act. You see so clearly this person is not here for the right reasons. Yeah.
But on the flip side, the more that you engage in someone and discover who they are and the different positive, like all the different skills and the things they have to offer, like the more they'll sort of find their place in a business and kind of fit in and have fulfillment. Like they'll feel more fulfilled because they'll be approached as a sort of an entire person. Like there'll be more of a holistic kind of look at it rather than just like, we employ you for this set of skills.
So, you can look at it like trainability, right? Leaders, if they don't have the technical skills, that can be trained to the most part. Character is something that can be a little bit more difficult to develop. So by focusing on somebody's character, obviously they've got to have a baseline skill set, technical skill. If you focus on the character of a person, you can further develop their skills, and it's a lot easier to develop their technical skills rather than somebody's character.
That's pretty cool.
I think, Dave, like the person, if you're treating them as a whole person, they're just more fully available for the job at hand.
Yeah, exactly,
There's a saying I remember in the army, it's from other ranks, usually directed at new officers that come in with the intent to change the world straight away on their very first posting. The saying was, "It's not all about you, sir."
Oh, wow. Love
it's not all about you, sir. And it was just a little bit of a mirror, like, hey, you know what? It's not all about you.
Hey, oh no, I think I've lost it.
I was just remembering with some friends, like if we're talking about if I'm going to give you negative feedback, we'll do it like a sandwich. A positive
compliment sandwich.
But we kind of made it joke. It's like, nice hair, great shoes. Oh no, you put the negative thing in the middle, right? Yeah, so it's like, great hair, you're an asshole, cool shoes, something like that. But there's truth in it.
Yeah, that's right. You've really got to... People deserve to be provided good feedback as well, not just completely hammered down till they're completely broken. But there also needs to be that accountability as well. So,
just one thing that's been on my mind, I remember like working with tradesmen, and like some of the tradesmen would be really good with passing on their knowledge, and it's like wanting like the whole system to grow, and other people it's like you can tell they're holding on to it, and it's like, this is my little secret, this is my key to success and making money or whatever, and they're okay, but then they're never like super successful or anything. I don't think it works, and I always found that kind of weird. But obviously you don't give away all your secrets and everything, but there's that balance thing again.
Sometimes when you... Oh, thank you. Oh, good breakfast time.
I remember what I was going to say, actually.
Good.
With in sales and marketing and stuff like that, there's this real idea of, selling a product, knowing your customer. It runs real deep. And but a lot of I don't know whether a lot of it, some of it is targeting insecurities and things like that, and they're looking at a way to sell something to someone, and they might target an insecurity in someone, or I don't know. And I think that can happen in business as well, and in life. Those insecurities are seen as opportunities to exploit someone. Kind of. Even in employees, potentially. Because of that one-way transaction, like you're just wanting, what can we get from that person? And obviously consumers, we can provide them with this treat that they can treat themselves with because they feel rubbish about themselves, and they have this desire to make themselves feel good. And we can charge this X amount of money, maybe even a premium, and get that from them. And it's sort of seen as a viable transaction, and in some respects it is, but ultimately what does that tell us about people, or what does it give us permission to do, is to exploit those weaknesses and things.
Yeah, that's right. I guess there's a bit of it's an ethical question, right?
That
if it's going to help people and they are going to feel better and it's going to help them move towards a more positive space, then that's a great thing. But if you're just exploiting somebody for, if it's internal, for example, just for my own ego, my own status.
Or the company's profit.
Yeah, that's right. Then it's probably not so.
No, yeah.
I mean, it's human nature. I always look at it as, we're all just monkeys up a tree.
Yeah.
To some degree. And like, if, when we sense a weakness in somebody, you know where you can hit.
Yeah.
And that person doesn't know how to hit back. And you can sort of get shark attacked or whatever. It's obviously definitely good to step beyond that, but I think it's a good thing to be aware of.
Yeah. Yeah, really, that's where it's so important to have those peer-to-peer relationships where nobody's perfect. We all make mistakes. We never always get it right 100% of the time. And having a relationship with someone that you trust that will come up and say, hey, you know what, Tony? Here you are lipping off about this other leader and you're not even in the position yourself. We all need that to sometimes. Well, we need to be humbled, right? We need to be brought back to planet Earth and not just get full of ourselves as if we know everything and we're a better person, even though I'm not prepared to step up to that position myself.
Yeah, I think if we can do that to ourselves, I think it's better than having it done to ourselves.
Well, sometimes we don't want to do that, right? We try and hide from it.
Of course
and
not.
sometimes,
like
I said, it might be a bit salty, but it's required.
Cool.
I really like the look of that sourdough toast.
Sourdough toast?
Sourdough?
Yeah,
cool.
Yeah, no worries.
I think we're going to have to wrap it up.
I'll get on with it.
An hour flies by super quick, eh?
Yeah, it does.
Sweet, thanks for coming in, Tony, and I'm looking forward to the night classes.
Yeah, no worries. We're really looking forward to it too, and
Cool.
We'll see you soon.
Cheers.
Thank you.